What did we cover so far in DOM? Let's just speak broadly about DOM. What have we covered so far? Like, do we know by now how we can create elements via DOM, how we can update them via DOM, how you can access them via DOM, and how you can delete them? Is that clear by now? Everyone, doubts? I hope it should be clear if you go through the last PSC. Everything should be clear. How you can sort things, how you can filter things, and all. हो सकता है. Right. So now what we have to do is let me just basically create again a readme.md. And यहाँ पे what we have so far covered is DOM का CRUD we have learned. Right. But in our old application, there was a small problem. The problem क्या था? Let's say if I run this application. Right, there was a bit of a problem. तो problem क्या था? Let's say if I go and delete something, right? So let's say if I delete this laptop and I delete this refrigerator. But if I refresh it again, क्या होगा? If I refresh this page, what's gonna happen? It will come back again, right? If I refresh it, it will come back again. Is that what happens in websites? No. Okay. Okay. Let's say if I go and add some product, right? Let's say if I'm adding new product, not searching, let me just add it. So if I add new product and if I add some dummy link, just let's say if I pick a link from here and if I just paste the link, right? And if I give some random description and some things like this, and if I submit it, right, I'll be adding that product. But again, if I refresh it, क्या होगा? क्या होगा? If I refresh it again, so basically this will be gone again, right? The reason क्या है कि वो why is it getting refreshed or resetted or disappearing is that this is our original array. Yes, yes. So we are reading this array and we are updating it in a hypothetical space, right? मतलब basically we are updating it based on this code, whatever we have written उस array के बाद में. But once I refresh the page, everything is getting resetted along with this show data function जिसमें हम products भेज रहे हैं. So basically, again, this array is being mapped. फिर से, everyone, right? We are not changing or updating anything in this array. Whenever we are adding something, nothing like this is happening where we are adding new product. Is that happening? हो रहा है ऐसा कुछ? नहीं. So is this the reason why when we are refreshing it, everything is getting refreshed back, reset back? Right? तो अब क्वेश्चन आता है कि how we can actually fix that, right? इसको persist कैसे करा है? How we can persist the data? So basically, our local storage comes in play there itself, but specifically, it's not just for that, right? So क्या होता है कि we have two systems, right? We have already discussed this, but let's discuss it once again. ठीक, हमारे पास होता है एक front end and what else? Front end and we have a back end होता है. ठीक, and from front end we get the data and from front end to back end we send the data. Remember? याद है? So we usually send data in format of these forms and all, where हम यूजर से डेटा लेते हैं and then we provide an input. Let's say हम delete कर रहे हैं, तो we're taking input from user and we're sending it to backend. And when we're accessing it for very first time, we're getting it from backend to frontend, right? Data का movement clear है? How is the movement of data is happening? Right now, in ideal world, we have something which is called fetch for us, right? And this fetch has multiple methods which are used to do these things, right? But for now, we have a small issue. We don't have access to this thing for now, right? We don't have access to backend के लिए access नहीं है हमारे पास. So we can't really do fetch on it up until next week. Next week we'll start doing it, but for now we can't use fetch for it, right? So what we are doing is we are using a dummy data, right? Pre-written piece of code is what we are using. But what we can do is when we use local storage ना हम क्या करते हैं, we create a store for that this array, right? And इसको क्या करेंगे, we'll store it somewhere where we can update it even, right? So rather than just doing things hypothetically like where यहाँ पे हम code में कर रहे हैं, we'll do it directly on this array, right? So in that case now we'll be able to persist the data. When I'll start doing it, it will make more sense, but ठीक है, again theory part समझ आता है, sense बनाता है कि what we are gonna do with local storage. Everyone sense बनाता है थोड़ा सा. Okay, चलो. So this is like first use of local storage. दूसरा use when I'll come to it, I'll tell you guys. ठीक, so let's go back and let's try to understand कि yeah, how and how can we use this local storage and all. Right, so let's create an index.html file. Okay, let's add this, right? And in here I'll keep h2 or let's just leave it p इसी तरीके से let p. In here we'll create one index.js file. And how do we link index.js file in HTML? Remember? How do we link JS with HTML? Script tag. In this, do we have to write href? Do we have to write link? Do we have to write src? src, right? So we'll write src in here. In write index.js. Right. So now whatever code I write in index.js, I can access it over here, right? HTML file. Okay. So now basically local storage, right? So this local storage again, if I run this page, right? Again, if I run this HTML page and if I click on inspect, and in this inspect, if I visit application section, right? In this application section, you'll find a storage section, right? And in storage section, we have something which is called local storage, right? And its local storage may we have a HTTP, which is basically link, this link, right? So if I click on this local storage, this is where your local storage is actually at. Yahi pe things are stored, right? So what is the way of storing things? Key value pair. Do we have a key value pair, right? So seems like it's storing based on object. Object के हिसाब से store कर रहा है, right? Let's see how we can actually store something on local storage. So it's easy. It's nothing big. All you have to do is you have to write local storage dot set item, and यहाँ पे you'll write two things, right? First you'll write the name of key that you want to store it with. So let's say I'm gonna store it as a dummy, and then the value that you want to store in here, right? So let's say if I write hello. So if I go back and show you guys, see, it's in key and the value stored here, hello, right? So all you have to do is you have to write set item, whatever the key is there, and then the value. If you want to retrieve that data, so all you have to do is you have to write get item, and then what might I need to write here? हमने objects already पढ़ रखा है. So do we need to write both key and value, or we can just write key? Only key will work. So if I go and type dummy out, I'll be able to access it. So let's do one thing. This thing is gonna have value of this hello world. So what I'll do is I'll store value in a variable and I'll just console it out. So console.log value, right? Let's go and see what are we getting in our console. Are we getting the value? Everyone? Good. So basically, this is how you store something in local storage and you retrieve something in local storage. Is it very hard? Is it very hard? No, no. Okay, okay. Let's say if I go in here and if I do a type of a value, what will it be? What will it be? Will it be string? Will it be string? Because we are storing a string, right? So let's go back and let's see the console. This is as expected, right? Now I want you guys to do a small thing. Let's say I have a variable which is called array, and in this variable I have these things, right? Now everyone first store this array in your local storage and then get it, print it and check the type of, and let me know ki type of kya hai. Everyone, I'll give you guys 3 minutes, आराम से करो, but everyone try this. So basically, this is array. All you have to do is you have to do a set item with a key and value will be this array, right? And then get it and do a type of it. Okay. So Amit, किया है? Did you try it or just trial and error? Trying? Okay, try it. So basically, bracket के अंदर you'll have name of key and second thing will be value, right? So I hope itna clear hai what we have learned so far. The value can be either direct value, right? Or it can be a variable which has the value, right? I hope that's clear. Okay, Nitish, that's correct. Okay, so everyone try it. Okay, Sanjeev, okay. Error, okay. Okay. Then you repeat local storage में set item and get item, is that clear? So all you have to do is set this array in local storage. That's all. Set item because it's a keyword. It's a inbuilt method which is given by local storage object जो कि विंडो में stored है. All right, so let's do it again. Okay. So basically, let's say again we have to store something in local storage. All we have to do is local storage dot set item, and in this, let's say if I'm storing array, I'll write the name of the key, and then I'll provide the value. So basically, ARR, this array is what we want to store. So I go back on Edge, and if I open my application section and this thing, so I've stored array with the value 1, 2, 3. Everyone, everyone. Right. Console में आते हैं अब. Let's do one thing. Let's get the array, right? So let value 2 equals to local storage dot get item, and यहाँ पे I'll write the name of key. If I do a console dot log of value 2, am I retrieving the values? Values मिल रही है मेरे को. I'm getting the value, right? But let's say if I do a type of a field, what am I getting? I'm getting a string, right? Right. So there's a small observation. वो क्या है? Local storage is basically taking your non-primitive data type and it is converting it into a primitive data type. Yes or no? Yes or no? Right. Okay. let's say if I go and store object in it, right? Obj, comma, A1, B2, right? And if I do let value 3 equals to local storage dot get item, and इसके अंदर I'm doing obj, right? Again, let's go and check our console. So console dot log type of, and this is value 3. Still we are getting string, right? So basically this statement is holding true. The local storage is converting non-primitive data type into a primitive data type, right? Do you guys think this is not something which should happen? Is it fine कि we are converting a primitive data type into non-primitive data? Do you think that's fine? Right? The only distinction between non-primitive and primitive was that non-primitive has mutability. We can update it, right? That's why we needed non-primitive data type, but now that thing is gone, right? So basically what happens now, local storage is not just created for JavaScript, right? सिर्फ JavaScript के local storage नहीं बना है. Local storage is there for each and every language which can write as a scripting language. Yes, because this thing is embedded in browser, right? So you can use Python and you should be able to access that anything, right? Right? Does that make sense? That makes sense. So basically what local storage does now, it converts anything into a string, and based on what language you're dealing with now, it only returns string ताकि everything is universal on each and every platform, right? But for JavaScript, how can we fix this, right? Primitive, non-primitive data type को primitive में change होने से how can we prevent? We add a small thing which is called JSON.stringify and JSON.parse, right? So first thing first, we have JSON, right? Which is nothing but JavaScript JS object notation, right? So you guys have seen arrays of object and all, right? So that's a basic format of storing thing in JSON format. Basically, JSON is there to save your object type of things, right? So I'm not sure if you guys have ever done this, but if you go and write type of an array, what should I be getting? Line number 28, right? Line number 28. Type of, am I gonna get string array, right? So if I go, what am I getting? I'm getting an object, right? So again, every non-primitive kind of data type, no, be it array, be it object, it's gonna be a type of object only, right? तो उसका type of आपको object ही आएगा, ठीक है? Alright. So again, JavaScript object notation will be used to preserve these non-primitive data type into a format which is still accessible, iteratable, mutable. ठीक, वो करते कैसे हैं? Let's see. So I'm just gonna comment these out. Let's create again array equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When we are storing it, right? जब हम local storage dot set item करते हैं, in here we are gonna do something. We are gonna use a method which is gonna be called dot stringify, or basically JSON dot stringify. Right? So we are still gonna write the key as it is. So array, and when we are storing the value now, we'll pick JSON object, and we are gonna have a method of it which is called stringify, and in here I'll add this array. Right? So by doing this, we are storing this array in its format only. Array के format नहीं, we are storing. So now if I go in here and if I go in application section, you'll see that this array which is being stored, is it still preserving its original structure? Right? Do you guys see the difference between last wala array and this current array that we have stored? Right? And now if I go and access it, no, if I go and do let value equals to local storage dot get item, and in here if I write array, if I do a console dot log of value, guess what am I gonna get? Array or string or object. So I'm getting array, and let's do a type of, right? So basically abhi bhi hame string ही मिले, right? Because we are not getting it based on Java's JSON format, right? So what you will do is you will just wrap this entire thing in an array, and before that you'll apply JSON dot parse, right? Now if I go and check it, is it still an object, right? So now the value will be preserved and will be retrieved as it is, be it array, be it object. Clear? So again, guys, basically to store data on web for JavaScript, we have a notation which is called JavaScript object notation, right? Let's say we have a pre-written code, right? And if I want to convert it into JSON format, क्या लिखना पड़ेगा? What should I write to convert it into JSON format? We basically have to write JSON.stringify, right? And in this bracket, we'll provide the value or variable that we want to store. And if you want to convert your JSON data into usable data, what will you do? You'll basically get JSON.parse, and इसके अंदर you put your variable. Clear? Clear? Is that part clear? How you can set items on local storage, how you can get items from local storage, and how you can store the state of non-primitive data types also. Parse is inbuilt? Yeah. Every method that we use directly without creating these functions, now those are inbuilt, right? So again, if I do a quick recap, if you like local storage accept things in key and value format, right? So there are two ways which we have learned. We have learned local storage dot set item. By doing this, we set item on local storage. That's very clear from the name itself, right? And this set item is going to take two arguments. क्या क्या होगा? It's going to be key and value. Key and value, right? But in case of non-primitive data type, what local storage is gonna do, it is basically gonna take your non-primitive data type and it's gonna convert it into primitive. So to prevent this, what we do is when we do local storage dot set item, no, we put the key, and for values we put it in stringified fashion, right? In here we provide the value. Everyone clear? Clear? Itna part, right? Then comes the retrieval of the value, right? So if it's not string, agar wo string nahi hai, so you can go and directly retrieve your data. All you have to do is you have to type local storage dot get item, and you'll just type out your key. But if it's a non-primitive data type which you have stored in JSON format, you have to retrieve it from JSON format to your normal JSON. So what you will do is you'll write JSON.parse, and in here you'll write this above exact same get item, and in there you'll write. Clear? Clear? What use of JSON? JSON basically, for now, just keep this in mind. It basically helps you preserve non-primitive data type in the format that they are given. Okay? Plus, this thing is going to be very helpful, JSON, because it's going to be universal, right? So based on what language you're using, you can convert this JSON into that language wala code. ठीक, JSON.parse समझने हैं. JSON.parse you only use when you have used JSON.stringify for storing a value, right? So if you have stored value using JSON.stringify, the second step will be JSON.parse and retrieving that value. That's all, nothing else, nothing new. What is parse? Parse is an inbuilt method. Come on, guys. Dot parse लगाया तो parse is inbuilt method. ठीक है? What is primitive and non-primitive data type? Okay. ठीक है? You'll need to watch last lecture because if you don't know the difference between these two, like primitive data types are immutable. This is string here. We can't update the strings, but non-primitive data types are mutable, like your arrays and objects. Hope that makes sense. नहीं तो in notes everything is given in brief. Dot get item is also a higher order function. You guys tell me. Do you think get item is a higher order function? Is it accepting any callback function? So far, no, right? But will set item be a higher order function? Still no, because we are not passing any function directly. When we start passing a function directly, we'll say ki, yeah, that thing is accepting function. So it's a higher order function, or maybe if it's returning. Take once again JSON.parse. If you're setting data using JSON.stringify, you'll do a JSON.parse on it to retrieve the data. Clear? Take it. So I want you guys to try this thing quickly. Store an object in your local storage by using stringify and retrieve it by using parse. Everyone try it quickly. 2 minutes for you guys. Those steps karne hai. When you're storing the data, write the key, but value should be in this JSON.stringify method. But when you're retrieving it, you have to write JSON.parse and uske andar you have to write this. Nothing else. We can store unlimited data in local storage. So far, yes. Retrieving मतलब वापस लेना, getting it. Local storage से लेना. Key और भी होना सकते हैं, you can create multiple keys, right? Like the storage is not big, but it's big enough to store text, right? You can store much long text. That's fine. Question repeat. Just create an object, try storing it in local storage using JSON.stringify and getting that object and printing that object. Nothing else. All right, fine. Okay, guys, that's correct. All right, so chalo. Now let's get back in here and यहाँ पे just observe this, right? Observe this section. I'll refresh the website, right? So even though I'm refreshing the website, is the data going anywhere? Is it getting removed? No. You guys can see I have even committed entire code base, but still the data is there, right? So basically local storage holds the data even though you like remove the code itself, right? So this data will help us to preserve our original array. उसको वैसे persist कराने में it will basically help us, right? But let's say if you want to delete some key or value pairs, right? So again, one more small thing, key value pair है, so keys are going to be unique or not? What do you guys think? Given that this thing is key value pair, key value should be unique. right? So let's say कि if I pick this array and if I try to store again, let's say local storage dot set item, and फिर से if I'm trying to store another key which has the exact same name, right? So str1 and str2. So you guys see it is getting replaced rather than being created as a new value, right? So the later one will get updated. All right. So now let's say if I want to delete something, or again, जिस तरीके से we set item and we get item, exact similarly we have a local storage dot remove item, right? If you want to remove something, all you have to do is you have to type the name of that key. So let's say if I want to remove array, now if I go back, storage dot remove array, this should be in string, right? Because this is not a variable. So if I go back, is that array removed? str1 and str2 wala? Right? So that's how you can remove key value pair or yeah, local storage say some data. But let's say you want to clear the entire local storage at once. All you have to do is you have to type up local storage dot clear and just call this function. If I go back, entire local storage is clear. Okay, everyone? Clear? Makes sense? These two things. So if you have to remove something, all you have to do is you have to type the name of the key. If you have to remove everything, you can just write local storage dot clear. Clear? These are the only 4-5 methods that you have to keep in mind for local storage, nothing else. Clear? Clear, everyone? Everyone? Right? So now, you guys, everyone remember the code, right? Yaad hai na what we have done? Because I'm thinking of just updating this code rather than writing something from scratch. But if you guys don't remember it, let me know. Yaad hai kya sabko what we have done here? Okay, let's do one thing. I'll do a quick recap and just let me know if you are fine with it or not. Right? So yeah, guys, this was the products array, right? And when we were like appending the page, when it was running for very first time, we were running a function which was called show data, and in that show data we were passing this products array. Remember? Yeah. So now what was this products array doing? Here is your show data function, right? This function is basically your show data function. What this function does is it accepts an array. It does a array dot for each on it, and it creates a new div. It creates title, image, description, price. It appends everything in your div, and finally it appends that div to container. Show data, remember everyone? याद आ गया? Clear? ठीक. उसके बाद we attached a single function based on delete m. Right? I think you guys are not getting it. Anyways, let's do one thing. Let's create something from scratch. Right? So what application can we create? Let's create a to-do list. Right? Are you guys aware about to-do list? क्या होता है? नहीं? तो have you ever thought कि आज I have to do some work, so I'm gonna note those 3-4 work down ताकि I don't forget it. Have you done something like that? Right. So basically that only we wanna create an application in which user can give an input where they can give their to do what I want to do, and if they do it, they'll just delete it. Right. So let's create index.html and let's create index.js. Right. Again, guys, kuch nahi karna hai. To do, all we have to do is we're gonna have a web page, right? Isme we are gonna take an input. Basically, what do you want to do? We'll have a button, and once this thing is done now, what we will do is we'll basically create a table, right? and we'll just add that to do to that table, and we'll give user a delete button. Once he's done with it, he can delete it. Right? So what functionality we want to achieve? Clear it, everyone? Right? Right? Okay. So let's do this. Let's try to do this. So we're gonna have this, and in here we're gonna have, like, we will be having a to do. So ek kaam karte hain, let's create a div, and in this div we'll have an input, and placeholder will be your to do here, right? And we'll have a button. Tick. I hope you guys remember form also, right? Here we only have one input, so I'm just directly going with input. But when we have multiple inputs, like let's say 3-4 inputs, so form is better, right? Remember form yaad hai na everyone? Haan, theek. Chalo. So now let's say in this button, what I want is add to do. Right, so this button is doing, it's just adding to do, and finally ये to do को we want to show it for a user on UI in a table format, right? So I'm going to use table वाला HTML element. Have you guys tried table? किसने किया है try table? जिसने नहीं किया है, just watch it here. We'll see how table works. Clear? So let's go back and let's quickly run our application. So all we have done is we have an input box, we have a button, and in here we'll start adding it in our table. Tick, nothing new, nothing new. Take a काम करते हैं. Let's give this div an ID. Let's say I'm gonna call it container, and this table an ID of map. Yeah, नहीं. Just I'm gonna call it table container. ठीक है. Let's create a script file. And in this script file, I'm gonna have another to do me. We have created a JS file. Okay, that's great. So I'm gonna have another src, which is basically index.js. Take file attaching with different files. I hope this is clear by now, everyone. उसमें तो किसी को कोई issue नहीं है ना? Let's say if I create an index.css file, how will I attach it in my HTML? Or where will I attach it rather? कहाँ करेंगे attach? Link in head, link. So link in here, we have to provide two things. First, what's the relation of this link? It's a style sheet. Second, where is this link? So basically here. Clear? Clear? Take. Now, let's go in here in our table. We have two child tags. Basically, we are going to have a two T head, and we are going to have a T body. Right? So in T head, we basically define what columns do we want in our table. Right? So let's say कि if I have a table, guys, let's do one thing. सिर्फ एक input नहीं रखते. Let's create multiple input. All right. So what I want to do is basically in here, I'll have name of the table, right? What to do I want to add. Then I want a status, right? Or priority order. If it's a high priority, medium priority, or low priority ka task, right? And finally, we'll have a delete button. Clear? Clear. So this will be task to do. Then we'll have a status need priority, and then we'll have a button. Clear? What I want in UI. So filter, you guys already know, you can eventually do it, right? And you should start actually doing it. So let's do one thing. Yahan pe, let's add those headings. First, I want let's go for serial number. What serial number is that task for? Then I'll have to do, right? So to do name, and we'll have a th. Third row क्या था? Fourth row, third row क्या था actually? It was of priority, right? So what's the priority of this to do? So priority, and finally हमारे पास क्या था? Finally we had delete, right? So we were deleting that to do. So we'll need to add one more select tag in here. So let's go for select tag, select, and this select tag option, let's create priority. And finally, we have three options. First one is gonna be your high. Second one is gonna be your option will be medium. And third one is gonna be option E. Clear? यही options होते हैं, or do we have something else? यही होते हैं. Let's give these things a value. Value we need in our option tags. So this will be high, this will be medium, and this will be low. And in here we have added th. Okay. So if I go back on my document, I have my input box, I have my priority list, I have my button, and I have my input के लिए table. Right? Delete button will make it dynamic. As soon as we're adding the data, now we'll create that delete button. So actually, let's start with adding the data, right? So first thing first, we'll need to access this container. Then only I can access element inside it. So chalo, let's do it. How can I access the container? Everyone, container कैसे access होगा? Let container equals to document dot get element, or rather let's go with query selector. And in here, I'm gonna access hash container, and let's make this thing to do name. So this thing is gonna be input. Will this work? Will this not work? Can anyone tell me? काम करेगा? काम करेगा? Okay. Then in our same container, we had priority order. So let's get that priority real quick. Priority equals to document dot query selector and hash container के अंदर का select select tag. Right. So we're getting the priority wala box also. And finally, I'll have my add to do button. Right, so this will be document dot query selector, in here hash container के अंदर button. Clear? So by doing this, we're gonna access each and every element. Now let's do a small thing. Let's attach an event to this button. So add event listener, and this event is gonna be click. And let's run a function which is gonna be called handle click. Right, handle click function random. So function handle click, and in here what we'll do is we'll just do console dot log to do name dot value, right? And we will do console dot log priority dot value. Why have I done dot value? Can anyone tell me? Input get करने के लिए. Very good, very good. So we basically want the input which we are giving here. तो उसको get करने के लिए I'm just writing dot value. So if I go in console, let's say if I type high there, right? Let's say it's a high priority task, and if I add to do, am I accessing the inputs? Inputs access हो रहा है. We're catching the input value. Okay. So now the next step will be basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna have a let data in empty array. Right. So we're gonna have an empty array when we're clicking on this add to do, right? I hope this is clear by now. We can have multiple to dos. Right? We can have multiple to dos. So what we are gonna do is as soon as we're pressing on the button, we're gonna create an object with these properties, to do name and priority. एक object बनेगा. Just in case you guys are wondering, something like this, to do name and then priority, and we're gonna take this object and push it in this data array. Sounds fine? Sounds something that we have done when we're creating a database, right? अभी के लिए file में ही बना रहे, but we're doing it, right? So let's do it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a let object equals to, let's have a title, right? So title is gonna be to do name dot value, right? And dot value, and what I want is priority. So this will be priority dot value. Take, let's go and quickly print this object and let's see what we are actually getting. The object ko jaake, if I print it by something, right? Let's say priority is medium, and if I add it, so I'm creating the objects. Object create or everyone? Everyone? Next step will be just pushing it into our data array so that we are storing things. Store kar rahe. So let's do one thing. Data dot object data dot push, and basically we want to push the object. And then what I'll do is I'll go and write data. Take, so let's go and see 1, and this will have a priority of high. If I add to do, we have an array which has this data. If I make it 11, medium priority, add to do, I have this data. Right? So again, I hope this jogged your memory. एक बार revision हो गया होगा how you create things from input and put it in your array. Everyone? Everyone? Take it. Now, there was a small thing. As you guys remember, this is an array, and if we are pushing something, if I just go and refresh it, don't you think this sara kuch erase ho jayega? Every data that we have stored so far is gonna get removed. Yes, yes, it is. If I refresh it, I know that everything will be removed. I won't be able to access anything, right? Because by default, ये जो data array है, that was empty, right? So now, do we know something which can help us fix this? Local storage. Take global, take array globally. I have taken the array globally, right? But refresh करने पे it's still getting back. तो कुछ तो गड़बड़ है, and something is there that we need to fix. Right? So basically, what do you guys think? As soon as I create a new array, right? I'm just gonna pitch an idea. एक idea दूंगा. Just tell me कि if you think that's fine or not, right? So local storage में we have these two columns. Key value. Everyone remember? ये दो columns होते थे. Everyone, right? And let's say कि in this key value pair, if I have arrow keys, if I have an array which is called data and it has some value, right? The first time it only had one value, A1. But next time when I again sent this data, this time it has A1 and B2. Which one will be saved in local storage out of these two? दोनों में से कौन सा save होगा? The second one, because given that keys are unique, this will be getting updated, right? So we have created an empty data array. When I'm clicking on the button, what I'm doing is I'm creating a new object और उसको मैं push कर रहा हूँ in data. Don't you think if I write a code in here where I set data array in local storage, every time if I click on it, I'll just update it with new array. Do you think that can work? Maybe. Okay, let's see. So what I'll do is I'll local storage dot set item, and in here I'll write a key. Let's say I'm just writing it as a data. This is array that we're trying to push. Array को push कर रहे, set कर रहे. So what should I do? Before setting it local storage में? Non-primitive data type JSON.stringify. So JSON.stringify, and in here I'll put my data, right? अब देखते हैं if we are actually saving those data or not. So if I go back in here, let's say brush, right? This will be high priority. So if I add it, am I adding brush with a high priority in my local storage? Okay, let's say if I say path, I'll still keep it as high priority, or maybe I can keep it as high रखेंगे. चलो, तो are we updating it with the new value? नए वैल्यू के साथ अपडेट कर रहे हैं, राइट. लेट्स से यहाँ पे जाके इफ आई एड अ न्यू थिंग स्टडी एंड लेट्स कीप इट एज लो प्रायोरिटी बिकॉज दैट इट इज. सो इट्स स्टिल एडिंग, add हो रहा है. So basically we are storing the data in local storage. If I refresh it, is it gone or is it still there? Still there, अभी भी उधर ही है, right? So if there might be a way in which we can access this data, don't you think we can create a robust system even though if we refresh it, the data will be still there. Refresh करने के बाद भी data रहेगा वहाँ. Do you think that might happen? Right? So let's do one thing. Let's create two small functions. Right? एक function को बोलूँगा save data. Right? I'm going to call this function save data and I'm going to create another function. This will be load data. Right? So if you guys might have played some games, in those games, before we quit the game, you have an option data को save करो. Yes. So you save the data. Next time when you visit that game again, it says you want to load the data, right? So you load the game again, continue, right? So उसी तरीके से we are creating two functions in which if first function is called, I'm just gonna do this thing, right? Local storage of set item, this thing, because we are gonna save data multiple times. That's why I've just created an array function. All I have to do is I've just called this save data function. क्लियर क्लियर. अब बात आती है लोड डेटा पे, राइट. सो व्हाट वी आर गोना डू इज इन दिस लोड डेटा बाय डिफॉल्ट डेटा array is going to be empty, right? Let's say if I try to load it, right? Let's do one thing. Let stored value equals to document document name. Guys, how do we get JSON stored data from our local storage? अगर मैंने डेटा को स्ट्रिंगिफाई करके डाला है तो इफ आई ट्राई टू गेट इट, हाउ एम आई गोना गेट इट? JSON.parse, right? तो JSON.parse and in here I'll get the data. So I'll just type data. If I go and write console.log stored value. So if I go and check my console, I have not called the function, right? So load data, I want to call it as soon as my website loads, right? So let's just call this load data function. इसको call कर देते हैं as soon as the website loads. ये clear है? Why am I calling this load data function, everyone? Load data call क्यों हो रहा है? Because as soon as my website like it renders on DOM na, I just want to call this function, right? So if you want to invoke something, as soon as you just run your document, you just create that function and you just call it. ठीक है? तो it will be getting triggered as soon as आपका website load करता है. Clear है? तो yeah, we are gonna get that. Let's go back. We're getting some error. So stored value and we have to write local storage dot get item and इसके अंदर का basically data. Right? So if I go back in here, am I getting the data? Am I getting the data from local storage? As soon as my website loads, as soon as my page loads. ठीक. अच्छा. अब एक छोटी सी बात बताओ. Let's say, given that abhi to user is visiting third time, like user has already visited on this website and he has stored some data. But let's say user is visiting this website very first time, data hoga website pe. Will the data be there on website? What do you guys think? If he's visiting for very first time, he hasn't provided any input, he hasn't clicked on this button. नहीं होगा? नहीं होगा. So if I remove this thing, if I just delete this in console, if I refresh my console back, what am I getting? I'm getting a null value, right? So like undefined, null is a value that is again in primitive data type, plus it's a falsy kind of value, right? So again, I don't expect you guys to remember, but do you guys remember truthy and falsy values in JavaScript? याद है किसी को? Anyone? Can we maybe note them down? ट्रूथी में कौन कौन सी वैल्यूज आती है पहले तो ये बताओ. will true be there? Will true be there? True be there, right? And will any number other than 0 will be there? Right? So for sure, these two are going to be there. In falsy values, we have multiple varieties. So we have undefined. This is a falsy value. We have empty string. This is a falsy value. False to falsy value. Hey, if you write 0, that thing is going to be falsy value. Plus, if you have a null, that will still be a falsy value. Right? So these values, no, they give false as a imitation, right? So let's say if I write a if else condition and if I write a null in here and uske baad if I write a else condition, this condition is gonna be false, guys. So we're gonna enter else or what? Else में enter करेंगे? Else में enter करेंगे? Yes, yeah, correct. Not a number is also falsy values, right? So seems like you guys have seen notes, right? So not a number, if this is there, still a falsy value. If undefined is there, it's still a falsy value. If 0 is there, it's still a falsy value. But for each condition, it will enter else. Let's say if I write 42, will I be entering if condition or else condition? If condition, right? Take it. So this is how these conditions work. So basically, let's say as soon as the data loads, I'm getting none, right? So how will this create an issue? Issue kya hoga? What the idea was going forward, user was able to add the data. There will be a function which will be called show data, right? Ye function kya hoga? Why do I need this function? Show data. What might this do? Kya karne wala hoga ye? It was basically gonna take this data array and it was gonna for each on it or map on it, and it was gonna create elements and show it on this table, right? Yahi karna tha, right? ठीक है. So basically, let's say if you're doing store data value equals to json.parse, you're getting the data. Then what you're doing is you're accepting this data value, and in this you're writing stored value. And after this, you are taking show data function and you're calling it with data. So in this show data, are we sending an array, which is this array, जो कि हमने local storage से get किया है, local storage से get किया है, as soon as the loop runs, website loads, right? So now if I get null as a value and then I get null in here, can I run a null dot for each? Null dot for each. Is that fine? No, right? So we'll have to basically create a condition based on which we like sort of filter our data ja kya raha hai. That's simple. All I have to do is I have to write if stored value and then I will just do data dot stored value. Now I'll give you guys 1 minute to think about this code and let me know if this is fine or it has an issue. Everyone, take your time, आराम से देखो, and let me know if this is fine or it has some issue. I'll split the screen so that you guys have access to show data wala function. Here. Just think about it, nothing else. Right? So basically, if stored value has some value, agar mujhe array return ho raha hai with some value, this condition by default will be true, right? Truthy values mein this will be there also, right? Array or rather non-empty array will be there. Although I'm pretty sure empty array still in JavaScript is maybe, if I remember correctly, it's still true. Okay, so let's say the array is there, right? But let's say if you're getting null, will this condition be true? Agar stored value mein, which we are getting now, null is there, so will that condition be true? No. So we are never gonna enter this if condition. So if I just take the show data and if I put it in here, will I be only running this piece of function, this piece of show data when you are saving or getting the data? Right? Agar null aa raha hai, to we are not saving the data at all. So this is the actual way of doing things using JavaScript. You save the data whenever you're creating the new data, whenever you're deleting the old data, and next time when you're visiting the page now, you check if the thing is present in local storage. If it is, you call it with a show data function. Clear hai? Clear hai? Just the structure, we haven't mapped anything or anything. Just I've created a structure where we're getting the data as soon as we're loading the page. Is that clear, everyone? And is it making sense कि हाँ store कैसे हो रहा होगा data? Right? Guys, everyone or not? Like I can only see 8 or 9 peoples. बाकी लोग, we have 296 people in. Okay? Nothing understand, confused? All right. So I'll just explain it once again quickly. I hope local storage mein how we set item and get item, that is clear. Set item and get item is that at least clear. Take it. So when we were clicking on the button, we were running handle click in which we were creating object, we're doing data.push, forget about this, and we're consoling the data. Was this part clear? Everyone? Take it. Now I want you guys to think of a situation in which you have created a website, right? ये रहा आपका first time website and you have another website, right? This first time website is user is visiting for first time, right? The first time user, right? And in this another website, like later users, or maybe these guys are using your website for long time. So if we have a first time user, will he be storing anything in local storage? कुछ भी store कर रहे होंगे वो local storage पे, if he is the very first time user. No, but if he's a like second or third time user, if he's a regular visitor of your website, will he might have stored something in your local storage? Right? So we have to write conditions in which both of these users or customers are getting their things, right? Experience should not be different for first time and second or third time users. It should be same. Product should be of quality. तो हम क्या करते हैं, we go and we went and created two functions. One was called save data and one was called load data. Why have I created function? Just to make things easier for me. Rather than creating the functions, na, I could have just gone and written this code directly. But I like modularizing thing because these things are way much helpful, right? When you write things in code format. Up. Next step was, once we are pushing a new object in data, am I updating my existing data? Existing data को update कर रहा हूँ. So I want to send this data in local storage or not. Local storage में I want to save the new data, right? So what I did was I called a function which was called save data function, in which what I'm doing is I'm doing local storage dot set item data and I'm doing JSON dot string, right? Basically I'm saving the data array. ये fine है. By doing this, each and every time user is clicking on that button, na, he's adding new object in the array. Clear है? Clear है? So basically save data is being called when we are updating the data array. Makes sense? Just this part, everyone? ठीक. उसके बाद we created a load data, right? Now this thing that we discussed, first time user and later user, keep this thing in mind, right? Now think about user is visiting your website for very first time. So if you have done stored data and in it you're doing json.parse local storage get item data, will there be any array which has data in it? Local storage में you have nothing. खाली है local storage. So this entire thing, na, it's gonna give you null, right? For first time users, this thing is gonna give you null, right? So if it is null, do you think we can loop over this array and show some data to the guy, the user? If there is no data, we have nothing to show, right? So should we running this show data function or not for the first time user? No, that's simple. That's simple. So what we do is, if it's null na, we're writing a if condition in which we are just calling, or we are just using this value. If this value is null, this if condition will be false. So am I going to enter this if condition? No, right? But if it has some value, this thing will be true, and I'm gonna enter this thing. Abhi clear hai? And then we are just calling the show data function, and shortly we'll create the show data. Abhi clear hai? Everyone? Everyone? Okay. Chalo. So let's do one thing. Let's have a break and have a break of 3 minutes. Everyone be back by 15. Uske baad we'll further create features in our to-do list. Okay? All right. Get back by 15, folks. All right, everyone back. सब आ गए कि 20-25 लोग आए बस? Everyone's back. Okay, great. ठीक, चलो. So I hope so far whatever I've written that made sense. ज़्यादा कुछ लिखा भी नहीं है, right? So yeah. next step was basically showing the data or basically showing whatever we have in our array, right? So let's do a console.log of an array, right? So in this show data, I'm gonna go and click on console. So if I go and add 1, and the priority will be high, and if I add to do, so yeah, we are getting the array with objects, right? Next step will be just looping over this array and creating and appending stuff, right? So let's do that. Let's do that. Let's array dot for each, and in this for each, we are gonna have element and index. And okay, we're using ES5 function and this thing. Right, so now these elements will be individual to-dos, single objects honge, everyone. I hope you guys remember these things now. Take, so what do we want? We want in UI everything in table format, right? So basically in our parent folder or file, we have a T head inside, like a table in which we have a T body. So this is where we want to append our data. T body में append करना है our data. Yes, I hope everyone's aligned with this thing. We have to append our data in T body, right? Now in T body, how do we create rows? Rows कैसे create करते हैं? By writing a tr. So I will be writing a tr to create rows, and in this rows to add columns, I go and write td, table data. Right, so जैसे for last वाला website that we were creating, in which we were creating an individual div, and in that div we were appending the products ka title, image and all. Now do we have to create individual rows, and in that we have to append tds? Is that what we are going to do now, everyone? Make sense? Make sense? We'll be creating different rows, new rows for new to do, and in that to do we'll add different table data. Let's go and try that. So now in our index.js, I'll go and write let tr equals to document dot create element, and in this I'm gonna create a tr. I'll create let td1 and document dot create element, and this will be td. Now in the very first td, I want to show users the serial number. Table कहाँ गया हमारा? Okay, table में I want users to show a serial number, right? So basically serial number, you guys know about serial number, right? 1, 2, 3 and 4. That's it. That's it. So let's say if I wanna access td1, and in this dot inner HTML, I wanna add serial number, dynamic serial number based on what element it is. It should write 1. If it's a second row, it should write 2. If it's a third row, it should write 3. How can we do that? Can you guys think of a logic for it? Shivam, very good. Very good. Okay, Shavya thinks count banana padega. Ankur correct, Praveen correct, Nikhil correct, Rishikesh correct. So do we have an index for each and every element? Her element ke liye we have an index. Does that index starts from 0? Right? So if I go and do this thing, I hope you guys remember backtick. Do you guys remember this thing? Dynamic strings, template literals, right? So if I go in here and if I type I plus 1, will I be starting my serial number from 1? Because I'm doing 0 plus 1, first index plus 1, then second index plus 1, right? So once I start karenge, this is fine. Then I'll create a td2 equals to document dot create element td, and in this td2 again inner HTML, I wanna add, मुझे क्या add करना है? I just basically wanna add element dot title. right? So I'll write element dot title. Then I'll create a td3 equals to document dot create element. I'm using a smaller keyboard than usual, so just bear with me. In our HTML, and this will be element dot priority. Right? And finally, do we need a delete button? एक delete button भी चाहिए हम लोगों को. Do we need a delete button? Right? So what I'll do is I'll write td4 equals to document dot create element, and this thing is gonna be a button, right? And button td4 dot inner HTML equals to element dot delete, right? Chal. Okay, line number 55 and 56 में do you guys think there might be an error? नहीं. अच्छा चलो इस तरीके से सोचते थोड़ा सा. हम for individual elements we are creating TRs, right? So that TR is here. That's fine. That's fine. In next step, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do tr dot append. I'll pick td1, I'll pick td2, I'll pick td3, and I'll pick td4. Is that correct? Itna part correct? Line number 58. Appending TRs, right? So basically, what I'm doing is in TR, I'm creating a TD element which has I plus 1, right? So basically, I'll be doing a TD with 1. Okay, that's fine. Then again, next TD, it has a title. So let's say 1 is the title. Then again, next TD, which has a priority, let's say high. So I'm going to put high in there. Finally, I'm going to create a new TD. But am I creating a new TD or am I creating a button directly? Right? So I'll need to create a TD, and then inside that TD, I should have a button. Button. Right? Right? So yeah, we have to start thinking in terms of these things to prevent errors. Okay, so let's do that. Let's fix it. TD4, this thing is gonna be TD, and then inside here, I'll create a btn equals to document dot create element, and this will be button, right? And button dot inner HTML will be delete. What I'll do is I'll pick td4 dot append button, right? btn, and then this is the. Is this fine? अभी code fine है? Everyone, आराम से देखो बताओ. It's fine, right? A small thing is left. We have to pick this TR and we have to append it somewhere we can show in DOM, right? So what is that somewhere? That is basically your T body, है ना? So let's get this table container and let's get the T body. So I'll do let table equals to document dot query selector, and in here hash table container के अंदर का T body. So I'll name it as table body, and let's pick this table body, and in that let's append our TR. Right? ठीक है. This seems fine. All good? All good? Take. Okay. Now, do we need to call anything else now? Show data, do we need to call it somewhere else? Anything? Anyone? Because if we are loading and it is calling show data, that is fine. अच्छा चलो एक काम करते हैं. Let's do one thing. Let me first show you what we are doing, and then you will tell me कि what might be an error and how can we fix it, right? ठीक है. So देखो, now in our local storage we had stored one which has high priority, so that thing is getting mapped. Let's say user does not has this thing, so yeah, that won't be mapped. If I refresh it, that thing will be gone. Let's try to add it. one which has a priority of high, and I do a add to do. So it's getting added in local storage, but is it getting updated in DOM? No, right? So basically, when we are doing handle click, when we are saving, after saving it, should we again call something? Right? Should we again run show data with the updated data? Right? Now this seems fine. So if I go back in here, I'll write 2. If I add a priority high, so add 2. Right? If I add 3, if I add medium, add 2. Again, a small issue. What is it? Issue kya hai? Are we replicating everything? Right? Do you guys remember last lecture maybe we did it? To prevent this repetition, we pick the container and we clear it, we reset it, we refresh it, right? So all we have to do is we have to access table body dot inner HTML, and we can make it empty string, we can make it null. Both are fine. So if I go back in here, now let's say if I add 4, which has priority of medium, and if I do add to do, it's getting added. And now guys, even though if I refresh it now, the data is still there, वो remove नहीं हो रहा. Clear? So we just used local storage to persist our data. Right? Now, even though we refresh the website, the data will be still there. I hope that makes sense. Sabko sense bana raha hai? Now, if I ask you guys ki whatever we have done in last wale session, PSC mein, so can you now persist your data when you're saving the form? All you have to do is we have to create 2 small functions, namely save data and load data. You can name them anything, but basically these 2 functions are there that is just making the difference, right? ये जो लिखा है, that is only new thing here, right? Everything else we already know. Just this thing and where we have to call the function. Everyone getting it? Getting it? Okay, take it. So can we okay. अच्छा देखो. So let's say how empty string solve the repetition problem. Basically what happens now, whenever the show data function is running, what we're doing is before again doing a for each, we're just clearing the old things. Right? So if you clear something before entering it again, then you will just get it from scratch. Right? So DOM क्या करता है? It takes the original data and recreates it above it. So we're just doing is we're just resetting it with an empty string. Nothing else. Take. Okay. So let's do one thing. Let's add this delete functionality also. Right? So if I delete some row and if I refresh it, it should not come back. Right? That's something that we want. That's something that we want. Everyone? Chalo. So let's do that. Let's do that. Again, you guys tell me, how can I add event to this button? Can I add it directly here by writing btn.add event listener? And in this, maybe I can add a click and maybe I can go and write handle delete. But now I'll have to call this with an ID or I. Is this a good way of doing things? Sahi hai tarika ya galat? No? So how can we fix it? How can we fix it? Make anonymous function. So basically I'll wrap it in an anonymous function, right? So I'll create an anonymous function and in this I'll wrap it so that वो immediately invoke नहीं होता है, right? And guys, keep in mind, this thing is a very favorite question usually for interviewers, right? Something which is called immediately invoke functions. right? So one way is this way of immediately invoking something, but let's say ki, I mean, chalo theek hai. This is one way. When I'll teach you guys ES6 na, then only this thing will make much more sense. But theek hai, I'll teach it when I'll tell you guys about ES6. चलो यहाँ पे तो clear है ना कि why this was getting immediately invoked, because we are directly calling it, right? So to prevent that, only thing what we did is we just wrapped it in an anonymous function. Take, all right. So now the next step will be to create this handle delete function. So handle delete, and this thing is gonna accept index, right? So if I do a console dot log of index, I'm gonna get index of that particular delete button 0, 1, 2, and 3. Now, next step, delete कैसे करेंगे? How am I gonna delete it? Okay, so splice will work, right? Last session we have seen it. Splice. So all we have to do is we have to pick our data array, data dot we have to splice, and in here I'll write index, two parameters. First parameter was index. So index, and second parameter was how many elements do we want to delete after that index. So I just want to delete that element. Okay, so now we'll be deleting it from array. Anything else जो कि हमें करना है? Anything that we have to do now? We have to call the show data again, right? So I'll call show data with the new data. Let's go and see. So if I delete it, yeah, that is getting deleted. But are we deleting it from local storage? No. So now if I refresh it, will that thing again come back? वापिस आ जाएगा? Will it come back? Yes. So if I refresh it, it's getting back. Even though I'm deleting everything, if I refresh it, it's coming back. So to fix it, what I can do is, once this happens, no, can I again just call save data? Data save kar do, this new save data, right? That's why we're creating save data function. However many times we just want to just call that function save kar do, and then call that show data function again. That's totally fine. Now if I go and if I delete this 2, if I refresh it back, it's getting delete from local storage plus stop. तो दोनों जगह से delete हो रहा है. That's why I will not be able to access it. Clear है? Clear है? So basically we have to delete it from both Tom and local storage. Okay. So yeah, this is how you can do this. Again, if you want to apply this in your ecom website, you can simply again create these two functions and you can just right. Again, let's do a small thing. It's not something big, but let's say ki this element dot priority that we are getting, right? Let's do a bit of CSS, or rather conditional CSS, right? Can we remove directly from local store by remove? Yeah, you can, but again, you have created already a better working function, right? So agar usko you again remove it from local storage directly, you still have to update it with the new data array, right? So still you have to do this, right? If it does not make sense, let me give you a brief. Let's say if I go and yahan pe, let's say I directly remove it from local storage, right? Then just removing it from local storage, am I removing it from DOM? No. So the next step will be basically getting that array again, data array again, and then calling show data function with the new array. Will these be the steps? Right. So here we just have to do these two things. Now, so why do we have to repeat everything again when we have easier ways? Right. So again, approaching a problem, you can have multiple different methods. Right. But optimized way will come from experience. So you guys will get an idea, right? It's very good that you are thinking of different approach. That's very good. Okay, that's great. Chalo, ठीक है. So the question that I posed to you guys was that let's do a bit of conditional CSS. So conditional CSS is nothing but condition के base पे CSS is done, right? So you guys know कि we can access style tag, right? If delete from local storage, it will automatically delete from DOM. No, not at all. नहीं नहीं ऐसे नहीं होता है ना. If you're removing it directly from local storage, then local storage is removed, but DOM is there, na? So jab tak if you don't remove the page, refresh the page, you won't be removing that data, right? So user, like, have you ever done this? Ki if you go and remove product from Amazon ka cart page, you go and refresh the cart page, और वो directly remove हो जाता है, right? Do you remove it directly, या फिर you have to refresh the page? Okay, काम करता हूँ. Let me just show you. Let me just show you. So let's say, if you want to delete from local storage, right? So what you will do is you'll write local storage dot remove item. Yes, and in here you will type out your data array, right? But what will this do? This will remove your entire array, है ना? Guys, doubt किसको था? अंकुर भाई, yes no में जवाब दो. Let's say if I remove this item, will I be removing this entire data array? Right? So this is not something I want to do. So rather than doing this, ना मैं क्या करूँगा? I'll get my data, right? So local storage dot get item, and I'll do all that. फिर from getting this item, I'll remove this, right? So let's say कि इसको मैंने store किया n array में, then I'll remove it from n array. Then I'll remove it from n array dot splice. Same method करूँगा. And then I'll update it in my local storage again. So local storage dot set item फिर से होगा, and then फिर से I'll update it in DOM. So again, are you not increasing the number of steps? Right? Directly remove call करोगे तो you're gonna remove that entire key value pair. That's not what we want. We just want to remove individual object. Make sense? Make sense? सेंस बनाती है कि इसको कॉल करके दिखाऊं एक बार. चलो एक बार कॉल करके भी दिखा देता हूँ. So if I write remove item in data ना, if I go and delete it, right? तो अभी क्या हुआ? When I clicked on it ना, I cleared my local storage, right? But DOM से हटा क्या? Have I removed it from DOM? No. If I refresh it, it will get removed, right? So that's the issue. Okay, so to prevent that, we have created a structure like this. Clear? Make sense now? ठीक है, चलो. हाँ, क्या कर रहे थे? लॉस्ट. क्या कर रहे थे हम लोग? CSS, yeah, conditional CSS. So nothing big. What I want you guys to tell me is, let's say कि I wanna, जब मैं map कर रहा हूँ ना, let's say if I'm mapping the task 1 with a high priority, so I want this high to be red in color. इसका background for this TD ना, it should be red in color. How can I do that? This method can be used in every professional website. It is used. It is used. So if I show you websites like Flipkart and all, right? And if we go and check their local storage, although it will be encrypted because user data is protected in these websites, but अगर मैं इनका local storage दिखाऊं, right? If I show you, can you see how many local storage things they are using? Right? Although these are encrypted because they don't want to show you कि दूसरे user का data क्या है, but yeah, right? So local storage is very extensively used. Okay, chalo. So now let's say if I want to make high as red, then medium might be as blue and low as green. Can I do that? Is that possible? Right? We just have to do conditional rendering here. Right? So I'm not sure if I have बताया मैंने आपको like this new operator. चलो यहाँ पे डिस्कस करते हैं. Let me just comment this all out, or not all. if I write if else condition, right? So if a condition is true, then we run something, or let's say one, else we run two, right? If else condition usually write like that, right? But there's a simple way of doing things. All we have to do is we have to write condition, right? We write question mark. Now we are asking if this condition is true, then we'll run something. Let's say one, else two. So I've just taken this thing and I've converted into a statement, right? So this thing is called ternary operator, right? So what this does is you pose a condition. If it's true, right? You pose a condition, you write a question mark. If it's true, you'll run the first condition, else आप colon के बाद वाला condition run करोगे, right? So based on this, let's go through some few questions. If I go into console.log true, console.log hi, else console.log pi. What am I gonna print? Just think of this condition in this format. And everyone, please answer this so that I'll know कि सबको पता है. Will I be printing hi because this condition is true? So if I go in here and if I check my console, I'll be getting hi, right? Let's say if I go and write, now what? Now what? Is this condition true or is it false? Is 110 less than 120? Will I be printing by? Okay, okay, ठीक है, ठीक है. Let's say let str equals to an empty string. An empty string को I go and write as str. This is the condition. Will it be high or by? By? Why? Empty string was truthy or falsy value? Falsy, right? So now we're gonna get by. If I go and write null in here, what am I gonna get? By, right? So this is ternary operator. I hope that's clear. Chalo. So all I have to do is I'll go in here and यहाँ पे I'll write td3 dot style लिखता, but we have three conditions. So ठीक है, चलो, let's not make it complex. Let's go in here and let's write if element dot priority is equals to high. What I'll do is I'll just access td3 dot style dot background color, background color, and I'll make it red. Clear? Clear? Can we do this? Can we do this? This is fine, right? Else, if space, else if element dot priority is equals to medium, td3 dot style dot background color is gonna be blue, else td3 dot style dot background color is gonna be green, right? So now are we based on condition giving CSS, right? तो ये जो है ना डॉट स्टाइल वाली प्रॉपर्टी इसीलिए प्रोवाइड की है कि you might need to do some scripting on CSS also. You might need to make CSS intelligent sometimes, right? So in this condition, we can do this, right? So let's say if we're adding 2, which has a priority of medium, we can add. Take, we can also use switch. Switch, I would rather use it based on static values, right? Although yes, you can, Shrikant, you can. Very simply, you can. But I find switch ka thoda syntax a bit bigger than if else condition. That's why I don't usually use switch at all. Okay. ठीक है. How do you switch? Nothing. you have to just go and write your switch, right? And in this switch, the cases will be your element dot priority, right? And based on these cases, you can create multiple cases. Agar case is equals to high, you can create those cases. Okay, so I hope local storage made sense. It's not a very tough topic. It's easy. Issue कहाँ आता है when you have to do load data and save data and so I hope I made that clear. You guys don't have any doubt there, is there? No. Okay. So is it possible by ternary operator? Yeah, you can. Like, but फिर क्या होता है ना ternary के साथ you have to go and like create multiple iterations for this. So let's say, let me show you. Like, I'll just give you a bit hint here. So let's say if I want to write something in ternary way, so I'll do console.log. First, I'll check a condition, right? So let's say we have two variables, a equals to 10 and let b equals to 20. Abhi first I'll check if b is less than 10, right? So is this condition true or is it false? False है? So I want another condition which is again a else if, right? So these what we were writing so far in ternary operator, these were if else, right? बस एक if था and we had another else, right? But now अभी क्या करोगे? You'll pose another condition, right? You'll say कि let's say wanna do console.log hi, right? Else you'll write another condition, right? So we'll go and pose another condition. Let's say b is greater than 10. So you'll write console.log by question mark. And finally, we'll keep this as console.log else. Right. So you can go for something like this. So for now, what will it print? What will it print? By. So it is printing by. But let's say कि if हम थोड़ा कॉन्ट्रडिक्ट कर रहे हैं खुद को बिकॉज बोथ ऑफ दिस कंडीशन या तो ट्रू होगा या फॉल्स होगा let's say if I make both of these conditions false, right? So let me leave the original code so that you guys can refer. Let's copy this and just comment these out and let me just paste this, right? So let's make this as false, right? Let's make this as undefined. So now what should I be printing? If condition be false and else if condition be false. So should I be printing the final else? Right? So yeah, we can. Again, you can do this very easily, but some people find it a bit hard to grasp. That's why I went with if else condition rather than doing this. But yeah, very easily you can do this. Clear? Clear? Delete to do using filter. Okay, yeah, you guys remember I told you guys you can do rather than doing splice, you can do filter also. Have you guys tried that? किसी ने ट्राई किया था फिल्टर के साथ करने का? No? Okay, ठीक है. So let's say if I go back in here. Let n array equals to data dot filter. Right? And in this filter, what I'm gonna get is I'm gonna get element and I'm gonna get index. Right? I have an index which I want to delete. What can I do here? क्या condition लिख सकता हूँ so that I'll filter out only the element that we don't need. अच्छा पहले तो मुझे ये क्लियर करो कि if you guys remember filter or not. Let array equals to नहीं नहीं पहले first tell me this thing, right? Yes no अभी नहीं, पहले ये बताओ let n array equals to array dot filter, and if I do function element, and if I return I need an index also, so I'll add this, return I as equals to 2. So what am I gonna get in console.log? Am I gonna get just this element? Everyone, सिर्फ वो element मिलेगा, right? But if I go and write, take this entire condition, and if I go and add a not here, what's gonna happen? Everything except 3 will be returned. Everything except 3 will be returned. Is that the delete functionality that we are doing? Right? So all you have to do is you have to go in here, get delete in here, and you have to check, you have to basically return index is not equals to I. Yes, the index that we are sending. Check, and finally this data will be equals to n array, and we'll be sending that to our data. Okay, or rather than doing this, what you can do is you can just directly make it as data equals to data dot filter, and that's fine, right? So this logic should still work. If I delete this, this will be delete both from DOM and local storage. Clear hai? I did not told you guys because this was easy, right? बहुत easy hai. So yeah, you can do that. You can do that. Okay, all you have to do is you have to just apply a bit logic, and now trust me, you guys know like 70% of logic building for a website. All you have to do is you have to start implementing things and you're good. Clear hai? Clear hai? So today we learned one point about local storage, which was basically persisting the data, right? Kal ke session mein, I hope you guys are aware, tomorrow we are gonna have a session, right? So kal ke session mein, I'll tell you guys how we can share data between different pages using local storage. Clear? Fine? Everyone? Any doubts in anything so far? Nothing new, just these few things. Do you have any suggestions? Simple hai, just try to create these things. That's totally fine. Take aram se baitho, even if takes half an hour to 1 hour, that's fine, na? That's fine, right? But don't think I'm wasting 1 hour in this. Just go logic, just keep it thinking in background, right? But वो logic बनाना start करो, your subconscious mind will work on it still, right? फिर एकदम से either you're eating or doing something and you'll get an idea कि हाँ, I can do that logic there. Take, but the thing is that you have to think कि हाँ, can I do a different approach for this? You have to start thinking in that terms. Clear है? Clear है? And if you don't get ideas कि कैसे think करना है, एक चीज बोलता हूँ, day 7 वाला code everyone, do you guys have day 7's code? I hope you guys have. If you don't have, you can go on notes and download zip file, go in this JS page and make this thing persistent, right? When you're deleting something, you should be able to update the data. When you're getting something, you should be able to update the data. Try doing that. Take, you'll get a hang of it. Clear, everyone? Everyone, clear? Take care.